much of the game is mental? What's your answer? Like, how much of the game is mental?
Oh, I'd say 50% or...
Right, 50%.
90, probably.
Well, so let's go with your first answer for this example, but 50%, okay. Right? Okay, fine. Okay, but now if you're up 15-14 for the state championship and you're serving, now how much is mental?
Yeah, 99.9.
Exactly. But then how much do you train it?
Yeah, right. Not enough.
Correct. Right. So we do strength training. We're getting better at nutrition. We do, we practice, we do all the things, but how much are we actually training the mental game? And so NeuroFuel provides that accessible daily option to be able to practice that mental strength.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Welcome to the Leave It Better podcast. Today, my guest is Jennifer Armson-Dyer. She brings a unique blend of playing experience as a setter, experience in communication, innovative leadership to volleyball administration. She's from Portage, Wisconsin, and grew up in the gym with her mom, who was a longtime high school volleyball coach, Joanne. Jen was a 4-year letter winner at Northwestern University and was the setter and I believe a co-captain at some point there. Today, Jen is serving as the executive director and commissioner of the Badger Region. Jen oversees more than 15,000. I don't know if it's greater than that now, but members across Wisconsin. She serves in a multitude of boards, including the International Volleyball Hall of Fame, which is how fun. She co-founded NeuroFuel mental training app, which is pretty cool. I looked at that. We'll have to talk about that a little bit. Jen is also the current chair of the USAV Administrative Council Compliance Committee. That might be busy. And under her leadership, since 2009, the Badger Region has grown significantly in membership. They've won several national championships at various levels. Jen is, and I found this in several places, recognized for her facilitating success leadership style and she's committed to growing boys volleyball, which is really awesome, innovative in tournament management, and building a collaborative volleyball culture throughout Wisconsin, which I think is marvelous and so important. So Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro, Janice.
Woo!
It's always fun to look back because when you're doing that stuff, you just kind of do it, right? When you're in the weeds and then you step back and you're like, wow, I have done a lot.
Yeah. There's more, but I had to cut it at some point, Jen. So Jen, I was going to say, so what's going on with you? And then I thought, or is it easier to ask what is not going on with you? Because
probably that.
Yeah. I mean, you are truly a busy woman.
I am, but I like it. When I'm not busy, I feel like I'm missing out on something. And so it just keeps things rolling. You give the work to the busy people, right? That's what the conventional wisdom says. So I'm happy.
That is so true. Like, you need more to do. Okay, right. Sure.
Okay. Because busy people get it done.
Yeah. Well, in our podcast, I like to start with your volleyball journey. And I love to be able to hear the stories of the young Jen. Let's talk a little bit about that journey and also about growing up in a sports-minded family. I found many things about your mom. So let's just say, Jen, give us a little rundown of your volleyball journey.
Yeah. So you said it in the intro. I'm from Portage, Wisconsin, which is a small town north of Madison. Anyone in the Midwest knows of Wisconsin Dells, and so we're by there. But mom started the program in the mid 70s. And so she was just in a gym. She was head coach. She would do all of the different things. And so that's where I grew up. I grew up going to her matches, and I can't leave my dad out of this because Dad was the one running the concession stands, and he's got a recipe for, a 400 person sloppy Joe recipe, things like that. And so it was truly a family effort. But me and my sister, Stephanie, we grew up in the gym. And so it's just one of those where And we've learned so many lessons from that, right? And one of the things I still take from me today that I learned from my mom and my dad is the people you want to know in the schools or any buildings you're in are the secretaries and the janitors, because they have keys to everything and they know everything. And so I carry that with me today.
Yeah.
And so just so many lessons growing up, seeing her as a working mom. My grandma, both of my grandmothers helped out because she would have practice or, stuff. My dad worked in the banking industry. And so it truly was a village. Yeah. But I knew I was going to play volleyball I can remember putting up tape in our hallway and playing balloon volleyball when I was 4 or 5 and, jumping off the couch and saying, I'm going to be in the Olympics. I was not in the Olympics. I've watched the Olympics. I know people in the Olympics, but I did not play. But no, there's so many life lessons to be learned through the sport. And that's kind of how I did that. And then was recruited to play in various places. I ended up going to Northwestern, as you alluded to. And that was eye-opening and fantastic at the same time. I was recruited by Margie Fitzpatrick, who was at the University of Wisconsin. But she left before I got there. And so it was an interesting journey at Northwestern, but some dear friends, some great life lessons. My academic advisor, Betsy, basically got me through college because she was the one that I leaned to. And so you always need to find those people that you can lean on. And she was a fantastic friend and still is to this day. And so, just finding those people that you can rely on. I majored in journalism when I was there. And Northwestern has one of the best, I will say the best journalism school in the country.
Of course.
And so I stayed on campus for summer classes one summer, and I needed an internship or, to do something. And so Betsy actually directed me towards the athletic communications department. And I went, what's this about? And so, when you're playing, you don't really realize all of the other things around the sport, right? The facilities, the athletic trainers, the maintenance, all the other things. And athletic communications, obviously in college, is one of those areas. And so it opened an entire world for me because it combined the athletic side and the communication side. And so I started interning in the Northwestern communications office. I would, just help run stats or write bios for media guides and stuff like that. I worked at the Big Ten men's basketball tournaments.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. And it was cool. And it was just, meeting people and expanding horizons. And that's what college is about. And at Northwestern, you have to do an internship your junior year somewhere. And because I was an athlete, I had to stay local to campus. And so I internship at what was called Windy City Sports Magazine at the time. And so I would take a train to downtown Chicago every day. And so we would lift at 5 a.m. I would go home, shower, catch the 6:37L out of Evanston and, train it down to downtown Chicago, work for a full day and then train it back and come back for individual practices. So it was great.
A tad bit busy. Yeah.
But again, it goes to if I'm not busy, I feel like I'm not doing something. And then after graduation, it was, okay, what should I do? And so I had some various offers around the country, and Penn State felt like the right one. And it was so funny because my last event at Penn State, Penn State well. Russ Rose is a friend of this program, a friend of mine. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But the last time we flew into Penn State, the airport is about as big as a volleyball court. Yeah. And I went, I never have to fly into this place again. It was terrible weather. I believe I probably got sick on the flight. And after we left, I was like, I never have to fly in here again. And lo and behold, it's a good job in State College. I did it all the time. And so it ended up, it was a 10-month internship. And then, fortuitously someone left and I ended up being there about 9 years.
Yeah. What year was that you started?
So I graduated in June of 2001. Yeah. And then I started in July of 2001. And my first event was a press conference with Mark Pavlik, wonderful men's volleyball coach at Penn State, announcing that we were hosting the men's volleyball national championship in 2001. Yeah. I had no idea what I was getting into, but that was actually probably better because I don't know. I'm just a, 21-year-old college kid. Let's go. Let's do this.
Sounds like you did some really great things with that. When I was doing some reading, I'm like kind of some fresh ideas that you threw out there and were big home runs.
Yeah. No, and it was great. And it's, you kind of pull things from various parts of your life, right? And so attending and working the Big Ten men's basketball tournament, I was able to pick up some different things from the media side. And it's all about relationships and communication. And that's what it's been like my entire career. And I still try to carry that forward today, but just making people feel welcome, make sure they have the information they need from how to dress, where do we eat, what do we, just things like that makes it a little more welcoming, and good things will happen.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't think about those things, but they are pretty important to that comfort level that you want people to have. So they do great work. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
So I want to ask you a couple of things. Your husband, Craig, is quite the volleyball guy.
He is.
Played at Penn State?
He did not. He played club at a small college called Susquehanna.
Okay.
But
he
coached at Penn State.
He coached at Penn State.
On the men's side. Yep.
And he was at several, Creighton. That was a pretty amazing time there. Pittsburgh, Marquette, and a couple other ones there.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming volleyball sort of got the two of you connected somehow.
Yes, definitely. So I was at Penn State, working with the Penn State men's and women's volleyball teams. We met in 2005, 2006, and he came in as Pav's assistant for men's volleyball. And so that's how we met. And then, then we got married in 2008, and he left Penn State to go to Marquette, and I followed. And then that's actually how I got connected with the Badger Region. As the membership coordinator. And then he had the opportunity to join Dan Fisher at Pitt when he first started. So he took that opportunity. And then from there, we were there about 4 years. Our second son, Luke, was born there. Our first son was born in Milwaukee, Liam. And then Salima and Russ wanted him at Penn State. And so he went to Penn State with the women. And they reached the national semifinal. Final. It's all a blur. And then
it was one of the two for sure.
I was there. Right. And then he had the opportunity to join Kirsten at Creighton. Yeah. And so he was there for 4 years. And then when Salima called about Notre Dame, we went, we love Omaha. And I had joked that if he got a new job, that was fine. I was staying in Omaha. Like, I loved it. We had our kids, we had 15 kids under the age of 16 on our street.
Oh dear.
It was just a pack of boys running around, and it was fantastic. Like the parents would text me like, they're in my backyard. But when Salima called and said, Craig, I want you to be my associate head coach at Notre Dame, you can't pass up Lima and you can't pass up Notre Dame. And so we made that move about 3 years ago.
That's quite says a lot about Craig. I think some of the Penn State loyalty and that's sort of like Russ's thing. It's loyalty is number one, big time, all the time. It's really cool for that Craig is doing that there.
It is. And it's cool for me too, because I didn't play at Penn State. I actually beat Penn State my senior year at Northwestern, a fact that Russ reminds me of often.
All right.
I know I'm happy about it, but I still feel like I'm part of the Penn State family. Right. So like I knew all of those players for the entire 2000s, and I helped with the Streak documentary that was on Big Ten Network.
Yes. Love that.
They did. Yeah, that was fun. And it was fun helping the producer kind of outline the path and, hey, you should talk to this person and this person. I had to go back and research because there were so many things that I forgot about. But no, that was fun. And I feel like I'm part of the Penn State community, even though I didn't go there.
Yeah.
Like Katie Schumacher commented on a Facebook post of mine the other day. And, just I'll run into Nicole Fawcett or, Alyssa DeRico, just all of those guys. Yeah. Cassie Salyer, Kate Price. Kate Price's sister was on Craig's team last year. And so Kate would bring the kids down and stuff like that. And so it's just so cool to be part of that community.
Yeah.
And get to know all of those guys.
Yeah. What a rich time you've had within that community for sure. I've always said the volleyball community is just the best anyway, compared to anything else. And I'm biased a little, but I don't know. So I have a family question, and this is we can go here or not.
Sure.
You had an uncle, your mom's brother, Marty.
Yep.
And I was looking at some things, and your Marty and your mom were inducted into the Hall of Fame in Wisconsin at the same time. And there's some things that were in his bio that I thought, dang, this is so true to the family roots of Jen and everybody. And I want to just say a couple of those. Be the type of person willing to help out and do things that is from the background and do it silently. Teamwork, everybody counts. Surround yourself with good, positive, forward-thinking people. Planting seeds sometimes takes years and years before they come to fruition, but you're planting them anyway. And then thinking a little bit outside the box. And just your person, every time I've run into you or had conversations with you, it's just, I leave there and I feel so wonderful. And it's such a positive, experience. And I just think for the Badger region and actually, for USA Volleyball, what a gift.
Well, thank you. And I didn't know that I didn't know Uncle Mart's bio said that, but that's just the environment I grew up in. Right. And it's, and mom, so Uncle Marty and, her other brother, Steve, they were inducted for their basketball championships. And then Uncle Mart was also a coach. And so the Gavinsky is mom's maiden name, but that's the family. Yeah. The Gavinskys in the Portage area and in Wisconsin have done a lot of great things. My Uncle Steve actually has a football stadium named after him in Greendale, outside of Milwaukee, because of his coaching accolades. And so athletics runs in the family. Mom was one of the only girls in their pack of neighborhood boys growing up that, she would run and play football with the boys and all that type of stuff. And so it definitely runs in the family.
I was thinking, even with how you run the region and your work there with all the folks, coaches and directors, not everybody is so lucky to have that kind of family tree that's just so deep in just great lessons that have set you off in the right path. And, I was wondering if this is something, because of where you came from with that, is that something that sort of you're always kind of striving to create and to make possible for the folks in the Badger region?
Definitely. I think and it goes back to what I was talking about at Penn State, when you create a welcoming environment that allows people to ask questions. And not everybody likes the decisions we make, right? We hear from angry people every day, sports parents and sports club directors, and, you're not doing enough to help. And I understand that. And I empathize that. We also see different things going on, but we strive to make sure that people understand the why. They may not like it, right? They may not like the decision, but we really want them to understand why we're doing the things we're doing. And if there's a better way, absolutely talk to me and I'll help find a solution for it, right? Or come to me with a solution and not just a complaint. And that's really the type of environment that I strive to create. And I believe I have created in Badger Region. Now, can I be a pain? Absolutely. I think John Sparrow would probably say that.
Good for you.
Exactly. Good trouble, right?
You're good trouble. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where one of my high school teachers, who was actually the football coach, said in AP history, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And that has stuck with me, where it's like, okay, where can we get better? How can we get better? My staff, I drive them crazy all the time because I'm like, oh, what if we try this? What if we try this? They're like, can we just stop? But yeah, we just passed 18,000 members for the first time ever.
Oh my.
Yeah. And we're just in Wisconsin. And so some regions have different states, but we're in Wisconsin. And so we have 18,000 members. And when I started, it was about 8,000.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a project for a class, and I had to go back and kind of find the membership numbers. And I went, wow, this growth is incredible. So, that's a credit to our club directors and the people who are, reserving the gym space and running the tryouts and forming the teams and doing the events. And so, if we can be of service to them in any way, that's the type of environment that I want to create.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It is.
What do you attribute the growth to? Just, has it been more recent? Like, the popularity of the game? We seem to be drawing different athletes, or all kinds of athletes, those that want to go super high and those that want to just play because it's darn fun.
Yep. I think all of that, I think the visibility of women's college volleyball on the television networks is a huge bonus. Fun fact, I was the SID on the first ever live broadcast of the Big Ten Network.
You were?
Yeah, it was a volleyball match at Penn State. So that's a fun random fact. The great things that the Big Ten Network has done in, getting it out and not only showing the matches, but working, and the Big Ten Conference as well, the Big Ten showing the matches, showing them in prime time, the work that they've done to partner with Fox, to get that audience, the football audience, in front of, NFL games or behind NFL games. I mean, there are some wonderful people doing great things at the networks. Jamie Gordon from the AVCA is a huge champion of just capitalizing on the success and getting the stories out there. And so there's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things. And that in turn helps us at the grassroots level kind of capture the interest and show, hey, this is why volleyball is a fantastic sport.
Mm-hmm. What was it like having your volleyball is such a central part of your childhood? What lessons did you learn from watching your mom do her thing that stuck with you? You mentioned something earlier that stuck with you.
Yep. I mean, there's so many things.
Too many.
She's in great.
Pick a big one.
Pick one. No, I mean, I think it was. I think so. One of the things that sticks out for me, and there's so many memories with mom and dad, and traveling and all of that stuff, but you're never get too big to not do the little things. Mm-hmm. And so I like to walk around our 55 court events and pick up trash.
Yeah.
Or I like to stuff coach gifts. Right. And I think leaders who don't do that, that's a problem. Right. Yeah. And so I try. Yeah. You need to know, you need to know what your people are doing. Mm-hmm. But also, if you're not willing to do it yourself, that signals a problem to me anyway. And that's how I lead, is I want to lead by example. And she certainly did that. I mean, I helped stuff her, envelopes for her team banquets and stuff like that, but she was right there on the floor with me doing it. Yeah. She could have said, hey, Carrie, who is our assistant coach, can you do this? But no, that's something she did. And so there's so many lessons that she taught and that dad taught. But
I don't mean to leave your father out. I'm sorry. It's okay. Again, behind the scenes. So you got to bring it out to me. And I appreciate that. Yes.
Yep, definitely. Well, and dad did teach me how to serve. So I do have to say that dad was the one who taught me outside how to serve. And I did reference that in my Doc Booth speech too. And both my parents were there for that. So he got a kick out of that.
Yeah. Very fun. So, this growth in the Badger region, just ballooning up to 18,000. What type of strategies or philosophies have driven this incredible growth?
What's driving it is just passionate people. And we try very hard. Our board of directors in the Badger region is fantastic, and we have a wonderful staff as well. And so we try to walk a line to provide services, but not step into the lane where the clubs are. So we want to be able to provide resources or opportunities, but if that's something that the clubs can do better, we want to let them do that. And so just kind of facilitating that success, it kind of, goes along with it. And, can we offer you some more coaching education, or can we help you develop coaching philosophies? We don't want to teach you how to pass, but can we teach you, how to run a practice, things like that. And so just trying to find our lane. And then offer as much as we can as far as support, both on the ground and, coaching education. What can we offer to your families? Things like that. Yeah. I think that's really been a success.
So you've been a big advocate for boys volleyball. Now you have two sons. Is there any interest in them yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
My 15-year-old did just text me though. He's in a sports journalism class, and he has to go to a volleyball game on Tuesday night. and said, well, I have to go take this. And I was like, okay, your dad's got a match. And so it's so funny because like all these accolades, but I'm still mom trying to figure out how I'm going to get 3 people to 3 different places within a half an hour of each other on Tuesday. So, it is what it is.
It is. Yeah.
But no, they are more into scouting, and my older son is in Civil Air Patrol. And so neat. That is Auxiliary Air Force. And so they're more into that right now than sports, but they've been around sports their whole life. So
yeah, right.
They're aware.
One other thing, and this is just, maybe I'll get your take on this, is that, when you're running the Badger region and like you said earlier, being able to do whatever it takes and putting on many, many hats for that and kind of managing what's going on. What skill did you need to have that allowed you? Do you sleep?
Not really. we haven't even touched on my schooling, Janice. That's a big part of it right now.
Yeah, right. Okay, we will get there because that is something I got here. Yeah.
That is a big thing. No, I think and athletics helps with time management, right? It's just time management and prioritization.
Yeah.
Just understanding that I know for myself now that between 2 and 4, I'm kind of useless. And so I try to get up and walk around and do that. And then I can get back into it after about 4:30. And so just time management, prioritizing, and also being realistic. Like I am not a perfect person. Everyone I know, who knows me knows I am not a perfect person. But just being honest and leading with grace, right? Because if you afford grace to other people, they will generally give it back to you, right? And being honest and just saying, you know what, I can't get to that right now. I will, but I can't right now because I have to do ABC. And so the people in my life and the people that I work with, my RVA colleagues, everyone is fantastic. And so they understand. Sometimes I just can't get to that.
Yeah.
And this is what resonates for me is how can people continue to get better, right? Because I think, especially once you reach, I don't know if I'm at the midpoint of my career. I'm mid 40s ish, right? Like, I don't know. And I think, especially running the kids around, there's different things going on. It's like, I'm tired, right? But when you're tired, you don't make a difference. Or you still do, but you don't make as big of a difference. And so that's what really drives me is how can I continue to better myself so that I can help other people and other organizations provide better resources, because volleyball has given me so much that if I can help improve my region, other regions, USA Volleyball, that improves opportunities for everyone in and entering the sport.
Yeah. You're probably pretty busy with a lot of that. Just so many things going on. Let's shift just a little.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about your app.
Yeah.
The NeuroFuel co-founder of Mental Training app. I looked through some of that yesterday just to try to get a feeling for it and saw some of the folks that were saying some pretty great things about it. Could you talk to us a little bit of that purpose and why and what it's helping with?
Yeah, for sure. So NeuroFuel came out of COVID, actually. So Craig was at Creighton, and Creighton has a wonderful sports psychiatrist called Larry Widman. We call him Doc. And he would come in and do mental training and mental performance with the Creighton volleyball teams. And like in the interim, when he wasn't there, they would do visualizations. And so Craig would walk around and do some of the visualizations, right? So the girls would lay on their floor, close their eyes, and visualize different things. So when COVID hit and the team wasn't able to be together, they would say, the coach was like, okay, do your visualizations. The girls were like, we don't know what we're doing. What are we like? We need Craig to tell us what we're doing. So Craig started recording on his phone, right? And sending it to the team so they could work on their visualization. Kirsten has 3 daughters who play. Reese is at Northern Iowa. Now she's a setter, Reese Booth. And then Hayden is going to Bradley next year. I believe she's a senior in Elkhorn North in Omaha. So Kirsten was like, can you send me those for my kids? And then we were like, wait a second. There might be a thing here. And obviously Omaha has some fantastic high school volleyball programs. And so Kirsten and Angie and Craig kind of bounced off some different coaches and, hey, what do you think of this? And everybody was like, yes, we need that. And so just started we had no idea how to build an app, right? Like we're volleyball
Right.
people. Kirsten's husband, Eric, is a lawyer. And so we were like, okay, I'm in communications. So I was like, okay, I'll learn how to build a website in a weekend. So I just learned Squarespace and learned how to build a website in the weekend. Doc provided the science-based evidence and, just kind of the stuff that he's written books. And he's written books on that. Max Out Mindset is Doc's book.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of came together. And so we found a tech partner, and Craig he went into a studio. So the coaches started writing the scripts, and it was more of the visualization side of things. And again, we're not going to tell you how to pass. We're going to visualize. We're going to provide structure so that you can visualize how to pass, or you can visualize how you're going to, set behind you when you're running forward, things like that. And so again, just providing the structure. And so it's been fantastic. I did beta testing with some high school players in Omaha. They used it for a week, and then we had them listen to something. And the parents were like, can we get this too? Because this is going to help me. Right. And there's a thing called Daily Fuel. And so it's basically a morning meditation where and it's not just visualization. It's also gratitude. They're building blocks for mental success. And so gratitude, positive self-talk, just different elements of the mental game that is really needed. And one of the things that Doc says a lot is, okay, if he asks people, how much of the game is mental? What's your answer? Like, how much of the game is mental?
Oh, I'd say 50% or...
Right, 50%.
90, probably.
So let's go with your first answer for this example, but 50%, okay. Right? Okay, fine. Okay, but now if you're up 15-14 for the state championship and you're serving, now how much is mental?
Yeah. 99.9.
Exactly. But then how much do you train it?
Yeah, right. Not enough.
Correct. Right. So we do strength training. We're getting better at nutrition. We do, we practice, we do all the things, but how much are we actually training the mental game? And so NeuroFuel provides that accessible daily option to be able to practice that mental strength. And then there's other things in there included, like if you had a bad match at a tournament, right? So there's a mental pep talk, essentially, visualization, mental strength training for if you had a bad match. And then there's also one for if you had a good match, because we both know, we've been in sports enough. If you're too high, that's almost as bad as if you're too low, right? You gotta be somewhere in your range. And so just those types of things, and bringing awareness to the younger ages that this is important, and being able to self-regulate that activation level is huge. And so that's where NeuroFuel comes in.
Yeah, so that's marvelous. If somebody was really interested in that, give me a little rundown of what that would be like. How do you get it out to people? How's it get started? How do you train yourself to do it? Is it just all online?
Yeah, so it's an app. So you can get it in any app store individually, but we do have team pricing. And so we have a wonderful CEO, Scott Smith, who works with clubs and different organizations. He's actually working with several colleges to get it university-wide. And so that's kind of the next iteration, is getting non-sport specific. There was a Creighton men's basketball player who actually used the volleyball version when they made a run deep into the NCAA tournament because it was so accessible. Yeah. And so it's an app. You can get it at the App Store. I actually just talked to my cousin about it the other day, getting it for his daughter. And so you can either get it individually or there's team pricing. And it's done better. Obviously, it works better when there's support behind it. And so that's what we're working on, is training coaches on how to use it as well, and really getting them the importance. But there's many clubs nationwide that have it for their entire club. Yep.
Yeah. The difference right now, they're so well skilled, and, just the improvement of that, the physical stuff and then the techniques and the mental training is the part where you're just going, wow, they're able to, like, they're so tough and confident, and that's wonderful.
Well, and it's funny too, because different people have different strategies, right? So Jordan Larson, who we all know is greatest women's volleyball player ever, she has an interesting strategy because she talks to herself. So her negative self-talk was so powerful that she flipped it, and she talks to herself like in the third person. And so, like if you talk to yourself, so science has said that we have 2, 3, 4 times as many negative thoughts about ourselves as we do positive thoughts, right? But you would never say what you say to yourself to a friend. And so if you flip that script and talk to yourself like you're talking to a friend, that actually helps rewire the pathways in your brain for more positive self-talk. And so that's where that confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Because like if you make a mistake on the court, you're like, oh, Jennifer, you're so dumb. Yeah. You know, like I wouldn't say to a teammate, oh my God, you're so dumb. That was such a terrible mistake. Right. No, you'd be like, you're okay. You got it. You've done this before. You know, it's just that flipping the script and how do you talk to yourself. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge thing, especially with the parity and all of these games, right?
Yeah,
it can come down to that mental strength.
Yes, very much so. I watched a couple missed serves the other day and I was like, ooh.
Yep.
Little tense. So Penn State University is the only Division I school that started with us in 2008, supporting the Side Out Foundation and the research and the work that we're doing. That's a long time ago. Do you remember back then about that? And maybe just talk to us a little bit about, why this has been such an important connection and you've been such a great friend to us.
Yeah, no. And I do remember. I remember Rick was there, I believe.
He was.
And that was just a connection. And it was more on the marketing side. I think that came through Russ and it got through there. But, I obviously put it in the communications and we, help support that. And it's, cancer research and specifically breast cancer. I mean, it's touched my family in so many different ways that anything that I could do, even, from then through now. Yeah. That was important. And so, but I do remember those first Dig Pink matches and people got behind it. I mean, Penn State fans, they're crazy, passionate. And so they certainly got behind that and they still do. I think I was looking in my closet the other day and I'm pretty sure I still have a pink shirt with a Nittany Lion on it.
Yeah, 100%, I bet.
Yeah.
So now with I think your region last year was a big supporter and worked with us on the Perfect Pass. Mm-hmm. And this was sort of a new initiative that we have to, help facilitate. Volleyball community is our fundraising arm. That's where we work from. But also with this Perfect Pass, it's now we're trying to work to get it to be the voice to let people know that folks in their community can benefit from the work that we're doing. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that was like, having that, what you may have learned in that participation with the Perfect Pass?
The reason I like the Perfect Pass is because it is not logistically heavy. Right? It's you provide the information, you provide the cards, you provide the instructions, and then it's a fun activity for the kids to be able to pass out the cards, pass out the bracelets or whatever they decide to do and really get that information out because what are they going to do? If they get a gift, they're going to go hand it to their parents. And that's who we want the information to go to, right? So it's a genius plan. That's what it's about because the volleyball community, as you referenced earlier, is a family. Yeah. And when people don't know about things like this, that is the best way to get it out. And so that's why we like supporting it is the awareness, but also the fun part, it gets the kids involved. But I mean, if we can save a life or two because of these things that we do at tournaments, I mean, isn't that the point of the volleyball community, right?
Yeah. I usually get kind of misty when I think about the opportunity to have folks hear about it and the fact that the volleyball players, parents, moms, whatever, because they, the entire family travels with the female athlete wherever they go, but to potentially save somebody. I have somebody right now that is a dear friend of mine and she's working with our folks to use what we have that could help her find solutions for her metastatic disease. And I'm telling you, I feel so indebted to the folks, the volleyball people out there that have taken this and really run with it and been so positive and sharing it. And so for you with your region, I truly do appreciate everything that you're doing there in terms of helping us to make a difference.
Yeah, Definitely. And I think, I mean, you guys should be commended as well, because you're not only raising awareness on breast cancer, just prevention and detection and things like that, but you guys are figuring out a solution.
Yeah,
I mean, so Ellen came to the Art of Coaching clinic that we hosted in Milwaukee in April, and she was telling me about the research and the literal clinical trials that are working at George Mason University to stop metastatic breast cancer. I mean, that's groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. And the fact that that can be funded in part by donations from the volleyball community is just, that's why we do what we do, right? It's not, it is also I like the moments where I'm reminded why I do what I do, right? Because I can get so mired in the day to day and I have a board meeting and I'm working on financials. They're literally on the screen, but just the day to day administrivia where it's like, I like when the 10-year-old girl gets her serve over and the entire bench goes crazy and the parents go crazy who are all dressed up. But then it's also the difference that initiatives like the SADAF Foundation and the clinical trials that you run, like there's so many life altering experiences that can happen when people know about it and when people get involved. Like, that's why I do what I do, to help, pass along those moments of joy and success. Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. And we do truly appreciate the Badger Region and you for all that you do. And, I have to say kudos to you, and we're hoping to have a big turnout this year with the Perfect Pass, because it is, as you said, a really cool thing to do, and we're pretty helpful.
Yep.
So here's another piece that I think I read somewhere that you said, not everybody's going to be a coach. Not everybody's going to do something with the sport training, but there's so many jobs that are out there that are, maybe behind the scenes a little bit or just super important to be a part of. Do you find that athletes are more aware of that? Or if they were looking for something and hadn't thought about that, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of my big realizations when I was an athlete and then went to work in the athletic communications department at Northwestern. I had no idea. I mean, I knew that there was a website, right? But I didn't know all of the things that went into that. And so I think, especially in this day and age with, social media, TikTok, people are getting more attuned to the different aspects of, what can be done around sport. But yeah, just kind of open your eyes and sit back. And that's the type of person I am. I like to observe for a little bit before finding my way. And so just, do things that you don't want to do. When I had that internship in Chicago, I found out I didn't want to write for a magazine. And that was almost more valuable than finding out what I did want to do. And so just try things, see what's there, take opportunities. One of Craig's players, when we were in Europe, she's like, "Hey, can I talk to you? Do you know people in XYZ? Because I really want to go into marketing." And I was like, "Yeah, how about this company or this company or this?" And she was like, "What, really?" What? And I'm like, yeah. And so just, just find those people that are willing to help because they're around.
Yeah. Relationship building.
Yep. Relationship building.
So, well, thank you so much. Is there anything, Jen, that I haven't asked you? I know I sent you a list here and of topic potential.
Yes.
But, is there something that I've left out that you would like to say here?
Yeah. I mean, I think just all of the things that I am involved with really bring me joy. And that's what it's about, right? And so I was on, you had mentioned in the intro, I'm on the board of directors for the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. And that organization is small but mighty. And it is so fun to be a part of something where everyone is rowing in the same direction, because I think so many times there's so many different opinions and we should go this direction or this direction. And the hall is just, George Mulray is the executive director. He is a fantastic one-man show. And the board really does a lot of stuff to help out. And so just finding organizations like that, because I know they're all over the place, and just finding what brings you joy and leaning into that. I think that's where a lot of people, when they're first starting out in their career, they go, well, I just need to do this because it's going to look good on my resume. Yeah. And now I'm at this point going, my resume is fine, now I want to do things that I can make a big impact and that's going to bring me joy. And so that's kind of where my career has now taken me. And yeah, I want to be a resource to people. I want to be a mentor to people. I want to help provide the opportunities to people that were provided to me by people coming up.
Yeah, I have to say you're doing a tremendous job of that.
Well, thank you.
And that's great advice for people to follow.
Yeah. You didn't ask me about Russ. You didn't ask me my favorite Russ story.
Okay, let's go there. Because, he's one of my favorite topics all the time.
Yes. Oh, all the time.
And I got to have breakfast with him just about probably a month or two ago. And I just love that guy. I mean, we went to the restaurant there in State College and, he was trying to come in and he was getting, everybody's trying to touch him and hear from him or say something to him. And he took time to, have some breakfast there and he mentioned you. But yeah, let's hear maybe one of your one or two best stories, because there are probably several. He just oozes them. They come out of him just free flowing all through the day.
Definitely. Well, the ones I can tell, there's some good, there's ones I can't tell, as you well know. But no, he's one of those people who, if you give yourself to him, he will give himself back to you. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's in it for the players. And that was an interesting part of the documentary with the Big Ten Network, that the producer said, okay, I've heard, and we did an initial meeting and then she called me again and said, I've heard different paths. I've heard people say, well, Russ, it needs to be about Russ Rose or it needs to be about the players. And I said, well, whoever told you it needs to be about Russ Rose doesn't know him, because he does not want it to be about him. He wants it to be about the players. And if you tell him it's going to be about the players, he'll probably participate. And obviously he ended up participating. But no, my favorite Russ story that I can tell is, first of all, he called the Big Ten his Midwest Deli Tour, because he would have delis that he would go to at every Big Ten stop. So that's one.
Is that why they have this show now, the Big Ten, where they show all the...
It might be based on Russ Rose. But no. So that was that. And then my favorite one is we were at Minnesota and Salima was the director of operations at that time. And so she's the director of ops and she had just gotten back into the sport. She was in pharmaceutical sales for a long time and then got back into the sport as the director of ops. So we're at Minnesota waiting in the charter airport and something's wrong with the plane. And so we're sitting there and Russ, God love him. If you're watching this, I love you. He is not a patient man. And it doesn't matter if he's 20 minutes early or 10 minutes late. Whenever he got somewhere, the bus left. And so, people are there 30, 45 minutes in advance just to make sure that they don't miss when coach comes. So he was not having the delay. And he said, Lema, go find a plane. And she looked at me. She's like, what? And I was like, I don't know. So she went to the Minnesota charter airport, whatever airport it was, and said, so are there any other planes? And they were like, no, and had the whole conversation. And she came back and she's like, there's no other planes. Like, we have to wait for ours to get fixed. And he's like, well, there's one right there. And he, how he does this thing with his hands. Like, go get that one. Go get that one. And so she goes back and she was like, okay, what about that plane? Can we use that one? And the guy's like, no, that's the Minnesota Timberwolves plane. You can't have that plane. You just need to wait. And so she comes to me, she's like, I can't find a plane. And I was like, you're fine. Like, what can he say? And so she came back and was like, Coach, like, that's the Timberwolves plane. We can't have that one. We just have to wait. Like, they said it's not going to be very long. And he was like, okay, fine. So that's just my like, just go find a plane. I'm like, what? What is that about?
Oh dear.
That's one of my favorite Russ stories that we laugh about. At times. There were a lot. Yeah.
The big mystery was always about the cross leg and the notebook there, and his just writing down everything, and just everybody wanted to know
what's in the binary.
And he's a stat guy, that was a big thing early in his life. But so you wanted to know what was important, and he he did it as a coach, really, more than to look at just a stat sheet, which sometimes, that's good publicity, right?
Correct. Well, and he would chart missed opportunities. And so he didn't, I mean, he cared. He definitely cared. As someone who statted for him for 10 years, he definitely cared what the stats were. He would look at me like, that was a block, right? And I'm like, yes, coach, it was a block. But he would chart missed opportunities too. And so if someone missed a dig that he thought they could get, that's what he was charting. He was charting missed opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when people would say like, oh, he's so quiet on the sidelines. I'm like, really? Because I sat next to him in the seat next to the scorer's table for 10 years, and that is not true. Oh, my other favorite rest story, if we have time.
Yes, we do.
When we had TV matches, you know how they have the microphones positioned all around. Well, they had a microphone on the table or behind the bench or whatever, and he would unscrew it. Like unscrew the mic cord from the mic. Yeah. So we would come out and fix it. And he would look at me and I'm like, hey, this isn't my thing. Okay, I'll tell him not to put, so I'd go to the producer and be like, hey, can you not put microphones? He doesn't want microphones by him. Well, no, we're going to do this. And so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so the wily man realized that if he just waited until the officials were checking the lineups and then unscrewed the microphone, they couldn't fix it because the match was going on. So you would see him. I would tell the producer every time somebody came in to rec hall to set up, or if we were the visiting team, I would say, you might want to move that mic now so that you can get the ambient crowd noise without it being by the bench because Russ doesn't want to be recorded. And they learned, but the first couple times they're like, no, it's fine. And then it would go out because he would unplug it. So that was always fun. And then just trying to get would he talk between sets 2 and 3 as they were heading off the court? Now, during that time when, the Big Ten Network started, we were really good. And so generally we weren't down, but I always knew that if we were down either 1-1 or, tied 1-1 or down 0-2, that I was going to ask the assistant coach to speak or just say nope, we're not doing it this time. And so it was interesting being on the leading edge of televised matches just to see that. And then the access that there is now, because it was totally different.
Yeah. One of my favorite, and I don't even know if this is true, but it was the championship match between Penn State and Texas. And they were down 2 games to none. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, they had the interview and then they had this really long hallway that he had to walk down to get to the team. And I said, so what'd you say to him? And what I had heard is that he walked in and he it wasn't any technical stuff, supposedly. Mm-hmm. It was all those people out there are waiting to see Penn State volleyball. Maybe you might want to show them. And they come back and they reverse sweep. And it was, that was just one of my most favorite matches of all time for both teams. Yeah. Incredible athletes there. And
No, and I hadn't heard that story, but that is a typical Russ, 100% he said that. He was not, when he coached them hard during the season so that he didn't have to in the postseason, right?
Yeah.
And so I just remember the 2007 championship at Stanford. He came out and was joking around at the walkthrough practice. And I think I talked about this in the documentary. He had the players switch jersey numbers because they don't know the difference between the 2 middles on the team, right? And so if they switch numbers, they're like, wait, Krista Armato's hitting outside? No, she just switched, whatever. So it was that, and he would joke around, and he's like, they don't need the pressure. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And so it was just, I said in the documentary, he was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. And that's just the type of person he is. He knew. Yeah.
He was one of the very few just really super special coaches and teachers of young women and men too. Yeah. Just very fun to talk about. We could probably go on and on.
Oh, we could do an entire episode on Russ for sure. But he also texts me on my birthday. He'll text Craig. He's still very much involved in everyone's lives. And so, which is great.
Yeah, he's a keeper.
Definitely.
Well, Jen, once again, thank you.
Yes.
What a fun time. And there's so much that you're doing for the game of volleyball and for kids, parents, really, those 2 coaches. And I really thank you for all of that. It's special. And I don't know what's in your future down the road of what you're, right.
I just have to graduate. Graduation May 16th is my end game right now.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best, and it sounds like a marvelous program.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for the opportunity. This was fun.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.